Hey, folks who dance on poles, ever thought about competing but worried about judgmental pole hobbyists? Want to enter a pole competition where it's actually run by strippers? Then you'll want to consider entering Script Down, Canada's first pole competition spearheaded by sex workers. The competition is on Friday, November 3rd at the Opera House in Toronto, and we are bringing in an internationally renowned pole artist like Jordan Kensley, Kiana Walker, Tia Jax, and Tara Meyer just to run workshops and also to judge the competition. Registration for the competition ends on July 31st, and yours truly will also be judging, so get your audition videos in and we'll see you there. Hey everyone, I am back. I am so sorry for the past 3 weeks of no new episodes. This has never happened ever, but I have a legitimate reason why I got married, which was supposed to be this episode was supposed to be coming out on the day I got married 3 weeks ago. And then I went on a mini honeymoon and realized I was really burnt out after 4 years of recording the show. So just decided to just take a bit of a break, recharge, and just get back into it, refreshed and recharged. So my apologies for that. I should have communicated that a bit more. But if you're on Twitter, which most of you are, you know that I was full well resting during that time period. Just a quick little trigger warning here. I believe there was a little mention of incest in the beginning of the show. So if you want to skip on that, I would suggest maybe skipping out after the 10-minute mark. Thanks for your patience again, and hope you guys enjoy the episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Stripped by Sia, your podcast for strippers, sex workers, and all the fancy naked people in between. I am your host, Steph Sia, aka Kimchi on stage. You will not be able to find me on stage for a while. I am actually getting married today, not at the time of recording, but I'm getting married at this moment when you were listening, or maybe I'm just getting my makeup done at this point. I don't know what time people are listening in at, but I'm getting married today, which is really exciting, and I am just really stoked to bring you some cool, fun guests, including today's special guest, which I will be announcing very, very soon. But yes, I am getting married. I have not talked about it too much on the show, but it has been a stressful time. But I'm still happy to pump out episodes every single week for you all because you guys are amazing, and also this kind of work is still really important, and these stories are really important to tell. So if it is your first time here listening to the show, this show is all about destigmatizing sex work, and I do that by bringing different guests onto the show every single week from literally every single corner of the industry, whether they're in the kink circles or doing something in the BDSM circles, maybe they're talent, maybe they're behind the scenes, they're a producer, maybe they're making ethical porn, maybe they're a cam model, maybe they are a client. I really try to bring as much diversity onto the show as I can to really paint a very transparent view of what sex work actually is, and not just the glamorized, sensationalized things that you see on TikTok or hear about in the news and whatnot. So I just really do this with the aim of trying to educate people, and so a lot of people are more informed, purposely informed, and also get the opportunity for people to tell their stories the way it should be, which is the truth, with no censors at all. We tend to swear a lot in this show, so just FYI. For everyone else that has been here for a while, if you want to skip this little next part, we're just talking about my Patreon subscribers, because Patreon is a really great way of financially supporting the show. Also, it's a really cool way to get bonus episodes, which you can't get publicly anymore. They're only available on my Patreon, as well as a full-length video exclusive unedited raw footage is only available on my Patreon. So yeah, I just want to just double check and say hi to some of the subscribers that are on the top tier here. So just want to say hello to Snoo. We've got Rup Sarkar, Jay Sunsern, Justin Erickson, Ted McGuire. We got Geyser. We got Selena Money, and not on Patreon, but someone who I'd met at the club recently who was like, hey, I really enjoy your show. Brett. Hello, Brett from Whistler. I just want to say hello. Thank you so much for the kind words and like stopping to chat with me when I was working at the Penthouse nightclub a couple weeks back. We had a great chat about the show and how we discovered it. And to answer your question, I will be bringing more Vancouver strippers onto the show at some point. At some point, so please stay tuned. Sorry, going back to Patreon, it's patreon.com/strippedbysia. If you were looking at financially supporting the show, it's as little as $4 a month. Go check it out. I'm not going to force you to do it, but go check it out if you want to help support funding the website, basically, and other upcoming adult industry events. Similarly, we are going to be shouting out Skyhawk After Dark TV, which is my network that I'm on. It is an adult industry podcast and videocast network, so all adult industry related shows that are on there. If you've enjoyed some of the guests that I've brought onto the show, a lot of them do have their own podcasts, videocasts, and other like-minded shows and content that are on there. So if you're interested in hearing about this kind of content, check it out. It's skyhawkafterdarktv.com. And last but not least, I did mention a website, aka my website, strippedbysia.com, which was really cleverly made by my friend Anthony, who is the founder of Fox Digital. It is a sex worker friendly website making service, and if you are in the market for building your own website and you don't know how the hell to do that, because I'm one of those people that needs a template, and you want to get something custom made, or if you have an existing website and want to just like get a remodel of it, get a revamp on there, go check out Fox Digital. Anthony will be giving listeners of Stripped by Sia 20% off website services, so feel free to reach out to him. It's foxdigital.design. Ask for Anthony and tell him I sent ya. Okay, so I am really excited to bring on today's guest. Quick shout out to Marcella Alonso, who opened up season 6 just a few short weeks ago. A friend of Marcella's, actually, another native New Yorker here as well, and outspoken, 38 years in the business, in the adult industry, content creator, actor, drag performer, YouTuber, go-go dancer, proud gay man, native New Yorker, author, and according to his shirt, the fiercest hoe in New York. I love your shirt. I'm just staring at it the entire time. Sorry.
If you can't call yourself fierce, who can, right?
Right, exactly. I'm so stoked to have Bobby St. James onto the show today, who will be joining me to speak about his longevity in the industry. And if you missed it, I said 38 years. 38. That's older than me. Like, that's crazy. I'm so excited to talk about your keys to success, what has enabled you to stay in this industry for so long, what it was like back then, how you even stay relevant and stay in the game, and also like the topic of adaptation and all that. So I feel like there is a lot of things to talk about here today. There's a lot of things going on, so I feel like I've rambled on long enough because you just do so many things. Bobby, it's so nice to meet you. Thanks for joining me on the show today.
Cool. But hi, guys. First of all, I'm so excited to be here. Steph, first time I'm meeting her in person, is beautiful and wonderful. And through our mutual friend, Marcella, who was like, you need to speak to her. So I did. So thank you for having me as a guest on your show.
Oh, you're so welcome.
So, yeah. So 38 years, could you imagine? I was saying time flies when you're having vodka, right? I don't even drink anymore. That's the whole hoo-ha of all of this. So let's start from the beginning. Born and raised in New York City. I am a Bronx boy. So, when I was born, I knew I was gay. Like, I remember the first thought process I had was like being attracted to men and to a very specific type of man. Hunky, older, I didn't care what he was, white, black, whatever, so long as he was looked good and was a top. Because I knew from the get-go, I'm about him. I don't think I knew what sex was, but I was always aware of the sexual person. That, in my humble opinion, I think everyone is from day one. Mm-hmm. It's just that people either are not aware of it. So I was. And, when you think about it, born in 1965, it's not like I had any role models of like where I could say, oh, this one is gay, but I always knew what the word was.
Right.
And and I always knew that's what I was, and I never thought there was anything wrong with me or with the fact that that's what I was. And then I was a late bloomer when it came to actual sex. I mean, I was 17. God, did I say that out loud? That's late. You know these stories about people. Oh yeah, when I was like a Cub Scout or cousins or this or that, like 10 years old and jerking off. I'm like, who? What? Like in the Bronx, that did not happen. So, and not that I didn't want it to, but I had no real outlet. So, in terms of the sex work, you know how Hollywood like glamorizes prostitution.
Yes.
So I remember being like 7, 8 years old, and you would see these movies where like you would see these beautiful women in mink coats coming out of like limos, and I was 7 years old, and I would say, that's what I want to be when I grow up, because it was so glamorized, and then because I knew that I was in touch with my sexuality, my orientation, all of that. There just wasn't an outlet for it. So fast forward, at the age of 17, I used to spend all my summer vacations in Ecuador, which is where my parents are from.
Okay.
I'm technically half Ecuadorian, quarter Italian, quarter Spaniard.
Okay.
Parents were born and raised there. They got married, came to New York. So that's how I spent all my summer vacations. And I hope people don't raise an eyebrow to this, but the first man that I was ever with was my first cousin. My mother, our sisters, and like the family knew, I spent that summer with him, and it was so. Up until that point, I was sort of like a depressed virgin, like 25 pounds overweight. But what coincided was me being with him all summer and getting food poisoning. I lost 25 pounds, and I came back to New York City, and it was my senior year in high school, and I was like, bitch, I'm a fierce queen. And, I mean, I always knew that I was, I never hid the fact that I was gay. And I'd been doing musical theater my whole life,
I love it.
So I came from that background. So I was, around gay people, but I just the opportunity was never there for me to actually do anything. So my cousin, and then when I came back from that, honey, it was like, between the ages of 17 and 20, I so made up for lost time. I all of a sudden was like, oh my God, I suddenly felt liberated. And I senior year of high school, went to college. So then at the age of 20, because I was so fascinated by the whole sex worker world, I was full of thought that everyone should try everything at least once.
Yes.
So at the age of 20, way back when was this newspaper, The Village Voice. And they had, remember the Village Voice?
Back
So
in the
the
day.
back of the Voice, the classifieds, there was an ad for an escort agency. And I said, oh, but models wanted. And I was like, I can be a model. I answered it, and it was some escort, Gotham guys, that was it. So I went on the interview. They sent me on my first call. And I will never, ever forget. His name was Danny. He was at the Marriott Marquis, 212-398-1900 room, 5362. Out the mathematical mind. So I went, I did him, and I was literally in and out in like 15 minutes.
Wow.
And nothing really happened. I mean, he was just like this nondescript kind of older, middle-aged, fuddy-duddy white man, but sweet as apple pie. $200 later, 15 minutes later, I basically jerked him off. And I remember that feeling. I will never forget that moment of walking out of his hotel room and how empowered I felt. And I remember thinking, that was easy breezy, cover girl. Just $200 to do nothing. And it was, and I remember thinking at that point, okay, well, now I could say I've done that.
Yeah.
But then, 2 years later, 1987, graduated college, and then that question, now what are you going to do with your life?
Right.
And I'm trying to make it as a dancer, and I wanted to get my SAG card, and then I knew I wanted to move out of my parents' house, and I remembered about that moment, and I said, that was a lot of fun. And I always was so fascinated, so I went back to the Village Voice, answered a massage parlor ad, massage/escort agency.
Right.
Went on the interview. He was like, you're great, hired me on the spot, immediately sent me out for my first out call that very same night. And lo and behold, who was it? Danny.
Are you serious?
The same client from the very one that I did at the age of 20, 2 years later.
Wow. What are the chances?
Right? And he was the first client that I saw at that point that started me doing this full time. So like I say I started at 20, but then it was like 20, then 2 years later was when I really was like, okay, this is what I do now.
Jump both feet in kind of thing.
Yeah. And, you know, like, God, between the ages of, like, 20 and 28, girl, I had no reportable income. You look at my Social Security, zero.
Dang.
I was like, this cash business. And, you know, and I remember, like, I wanted to move out to my parents' house. I did that first client. And then the agency that I worked for, so that was set up. It was like technically a massage parlor.
Okay.
So he had 7 days a week out of his apartment on 62nd and 2nd. He would have a different masseur on every day. Wow. So I was Tuesdays and Saturdays. Now I'm going back 30,000 years. This is 1987. So, you know, massage back then was not what you get now. So he would charge. I usually don't like talking money, but I'm going to anyway.
Let's go there.
He would charge $80, and then he would take half of it. So I was there every Tuesday and Saturday from like starting at 2 o'clock till about midnight. And he would tell the client, he would say, "Oh, it's 1 hour, bitch." These bitches back then, they just wanted to shoot their load. So even though he would tell them an hour, he would book them every half hour. So I literally, every Tuesday and Saturday for like 3 years, I saw like 14, 15, 16 clients. Damn. One night after the other. You know, and then you times that by 40, plus they would tip you. So like when you think of it, you know, I would leave the shift with like, you know, $500-600, which if you think about the volume of men that I had, it probably, you know, seems a little lopsided.
A little bit.
But it was also, you gotta remember that was 1987.
Right.
$500-600 back then in any given day was pretty good.
Yeah.
And the massage was non-existent. I mean, he didn't even have a fucking massage table to put on his bed.
Very informal.
You know, you must touch them for a few minutes, and then before you know it, they're gyrating, they're touching, they shoot their loads, and 20 minutes later, they were out the door.
Wow.
So
in and out.
So it was fast, and, you know, fast and easy. And so, but then at that point, in addition to working there, then I had 3 ads of my own. The Village Voice, The Advocate, and not the New York Native, The Advocate, and the Manhattan Spirit. So then I had my own ads. So then the 3 different publications. Then he loved the way I was on the phone, because I've always kind of had that managerial side to me. So then he was like, "Bobby, will you answer the phone 3 days a week?" So then I would work Tuesday, Saturday, then 3 days a week actually answer the phone. So then I'd get a cut from each call that I would book. And then because it was a specific person, if I would say, you know, Tim is on today, and oh, what's Tim look like? And I would describe him, and they would say, "Oh, do you have anyone else?" And I'd say, "Well, how about Bobby?" And
you'd be pitching yourself.
I would describe myself, and they'd be like, "Yeah, I want him." So then I would get my cut from that, plus the cut from booking the call, because I'm the one that booked it. So I was kind of making money hand over foot. And then I even took a step further and then created a separate little ad that just simply said, all types of masseurs and escorts available. And the ad would cost me like nothing. So then I would hoe out my friends and get my cut from them.
Share the wealth.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, you know, but back then it was such a different time because, you know, back then, first of all, just in terms of advertising, you know, this was well before computers were anywhere to be found.
It's all newspaper, right? Newspaper based, like newspaper ads.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because I remember even years later, like, you know, being like 10 years later in the late 90s, I was like somewhere in the Midwest, like some little local gay bar, and they had like old Advocate issues. And I was like, 1987. And then I was like, oh, there I am.
Oh, wait, it's me. That person looks familiar. That's so funny.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was.
this is so interesting to hear back, like what it was like back then, because I actually I haven't had many people on the show. I've had like Vanessa, who is here based in Vancouver Island, talking to us about what it was like back when she was also doing her own newspaper ads, when she was doing some street walking back here in the Lower Mainland in BC. But like, just hearing how to navigate that, like it just sounds it sounds so archaic compared to things that how they operate now. I mean, like telling people are calling in to a phone line. Okay, first of all, there's an ad in the newspaper. People call the number if they're interested. Someone receives the call. They have to then describe what the potential escorts would look like and try to sell it that way, and then they would book it. And then how does it work there? There's a specific in-call or out-call, an address that you operate out of, or?
Yes. So then you wouldn't necessarily like place it in the ad, but then like with the agency, it was always like they would go to us. But then if they wanted an out-call, then he would book. Because usually an out-call would be like a businessman who would be at a hotel or whatever.
Of course, right.
You know, and then like with my own ad, now back then also was the time of the pagers.
Oh my God.
So like if you didn't necessarily want to give out your phone number, I did both because I was like, fuck that, honey. I'm going to make money anyway. You can call me, you can page me, you can sign language, you can do whatever the fuck you want so long as you're going to pay me.
I love it. I love it. Like a true hustler.
So, exactly. Like, listen, I was even at the point where, so they would page me and then I'd call them back, and then keep in mind also, like since day one that I've done this, 38 years later, I can safely say that 99% of my clients that hire me lead a heterosexual life. Like all of my clients have wives. And you know what? I prefer that because I admit it, I have commitment issues.
Perfect. It goes hand in hand.
And listen, and the 1% that I get that are gay, 99.99% of them have husbands. So there's like 0.00001% of my clients are single gay males, and those are the ones that I end up dating. So
that's a really interesting statistic. Oh my gosh, Bobby, I had no idea. Well, I guess that's spoken to your own personal experience, but that was a higher number than I thought it would be.
Well, I think also that with me, like, look, I know that I'm the age that I am, but I've always been a very specific type. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know if you could tell from looking at me, but I'm like 5'4", 135. I'm not very big. And like, I'm naturally smooth. So I've always been like the smooth, cute, boyish type. Oh. And even at this age, I still advertise it as such.
I love that.
And, you know, like, you know, in my ads, I say that I'm 40. And these bitches are like, you look great. You look amazing for 40. And I think to myself, that's because I'm 58.
And I still can't believe that, too, because your skin looks amazing, by the way. Amazing. You take care of yourself. I drink
like 2 gallons of water a day. You know, I'm a social drinker and all of that, but I've never been, you know, I've had moments where I go overboard with things, but it's never
don't
been
we all?
Any kind of consistent basis. Yeah, so, and I think also because I am such a specific type, I own like the same type of men that I'm attracted to in my personal life, which is basically the opposite of me. I mean, look at me. Helen Keller would know I was the bottom. I mean, come on. And for your viewers who don't know the whole top-bottom thing, top does the fucking, bottom gets fucked, just in case. So
just in case.
I mean, it's obvious. Just in case. It's obvious that I'm a bottom. So I think, like, because the men that hire me are maybe like bisexual, because they're always like, oh, I have a wife. And I'm like, I don't care what you have.
Yeah.
But I think they feel a lot less threatened because let's keep it real. I'm not the butchest thing on the planet. And, you know, so then because I've always been more of like a girly kind of boy. Plus I've done drag 36 years. So like, you know, I look pretty. I think if I was like some macho, burly, hairy man, then I would get maybe a different clientele. Or maybe like something, I think if I were more generic, I'd get people that were more like all over the map. But instead I get these hunky, nice looking, Like, some of
Ooh.
them are really nice. I could honestly say, girl, some of the best sex I've had and some of the most beautiful men I have ever been with have paid me.
I love that.
So, right? But I mean, even these things, even to date, like the clients that I get, I'm always like, oh my God. So,
You're like
I'm
blessed.
fortunate. I think also, like, a lot of people have a misconception about that. And I always like to talk about that. This is me with the tangents.
No,
But
yeah,
I
it's
think so many
welcomed.
people think that anyone that hires any kind of sex worker, it's because that's the only way they can get it. And I'm
Oh,
here to
yeah,
tell you that's
that's a
not the
myth.
case at all. It's, I
Yes.
think it's simple mathematics also. That misconception, like I've always said, it's simple economics when you think about it. Because if you think that, like, way back when, like before the internet or anything, like people would go out, with the hopes of hooking up, and then you're going to spend all this money, drinks, 100, $200 to, like, hopefully meet someone. You might meet someone, and then at the end of the night, you spend all this damn money, and then they don't go home with you anyway, or you take them home, and you're like, girl, you didn't think to take a shower or anything, or wait, what? And then suddenly it's not all what it's cracked up to be. So the economical part of it is cut to the chase. If you're
Yeah.
gonna, waste that much money, get the end result, which is you're gonna get
Yes.
exactly what you want. You're gonna order in. You're gonna say, I want someone who's, smooth, cute, boyish, black hair, brown eyes, blah blah blah. Oh, I want Bobby, and then pay me the $200.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's the simple economics of it is that let's cut to the chase and let's do that and let's get what we want. So I think as human beings, we tend to go to, like, the generalizations or the stereotypes of things.
Yes.
So I'm sure there are people out there that maybe that is the only way they can get it, but that's not by and large. I
Yeah.
think by and large, most people honestly are just craving intimacy and human
Yeah.
connection and
Yes to
human touch.
that. Yes.
That's all it really is. And that's why these motherfuckers that sit here and, like, you don't even know shit about sex work, and you don't, but they're quick to judge us who do it
Mm-hmm.
for no good reason.
Oh, I know, I know. I used to be a sugar baby many years ago too, and like most of my clients were basically because they were businessmen and they didn't have any time to nurture like a quote unquote real relationship, but they were craving that human connection, craving that human touch, which is so important and so vital to just be as a human being. So, and what is wrong with that? I don't think there's anything wrong with that at
Nothing,
all.
absolutely nothing. And I always find that it's like, I've always said, the people that sit here and put us down for what we do, I'm like, y'all bitches are just jealous because you're usually too fucking butt ugly to sell your own shit. So leave us alone.
Yeah, leave
Stay
us
in your
alone.
damn lane.
Thank you. I know the people that are the most opinionated of us and of the work that we do have never worked a damn day in the industry at all. And if they did, they probably would never even last. They probably wouldn't last.
No, because you know what? Because even with this, like, I always, like, say it kidding around, but not really. Like, even with this work, I've always had a good work ethic. So, like, even like when I do, like, massage versus escorting, like, massages this much, escorting is twice the price. I could
Yes.
honestly say I have never ever once, even though I get really hot fucking men, if you hire me for massage, and I don't care how big your dick is, or how hot your body is, or how fine you are, unless you are paying me my escort price, you are not fucking me.
Yes.
And I've never ever made that exception. Now I've had it
Good.
happen with them, like, oh, I want to fucking. I'm like, that's fine, baby, but that's this much.
Yeah.
Oh, well, can I just? No,
Yeah,
you
no,
can't.
you can't.
You can if you pay me this much.
Yes.
So, I think if you treat it as a business
Oh, you
and,
have to.
and have the work ethic, then you'll do fine with it.
Yeah, but let's stick in that topic for a minute, work ethic, because like that is also really important for you lasting this long in this industry is having strong work ethic and treating it like a business, just like what you said here. Because, sometimes, and I have been guilty of this in the past before, when a certain amount of dollars are being flashed in front of my eyes, I have been tempted before. I have been tempted when I was like a sugar baby back in the day, and I was like, for just a few more $100, I can get this if I just do this. But let's talk about, you know, your work ethic too. Like, did you always have such a strong work ethic going into this work, or was that something that you had developed because you had like learned from like your mistakes in the past or whatnot?
No, you know what? Like, first of all, I've always loved money, and I've always loved making my own money. So I remember, like, when I was 10 years old, I used to, like, every Saturday and Sunday go to the local candy store across the street and put together the Sunday Times and the Daily News, and the New York Times and the Daily News on Sunday, and I'd get like $10 a weekend. But I was like proud of that. And then when I was 13, I did a paper route for like 3 years. So 7 days a week, I was getting up at 6 a.m. delivering newspapers and getting like $40 a week, which, you know, in 1978, when I was 13, was a lot of money for me.
Yeah.
And like, I'm the youngest of 4 kids, so at the time my parents were giving us like $5 a week allowance, and I said to my parents, "You are no longer giving me allowance. I'm giving you $40 a month to live here." So like the work ethic part of me was also like, if you're going to put a roof over my head, I should contribute.
Wow.
So I would take like 1 week of work and give it to them every month.
That's awesome. So that was already instilled in you at an early age.
Yeah, that was always, and I get it because my parents are working professionals. So, yes. I mean, I guess they like set the example. But also, you know, I'm such an OCD, money hungry queen, Pisces, that we tend to be, you know, meticulous in that regard, that I've always kind of had that ethic of, I want to work, I want to make money. And look, as much as I love money and as much as I love men giving me money and paying for my time, I have, the one thing I could honestly say is for whatever reason, like I've never had a sugar daddy. Like I've never been kept in that regard. Now, when I've had boyfriends, yeah, bitch, you gotta pay for everything. Because my whole point is, I played the Spanish girl in that role. Like, you want to do the whole daddy boy thing, and like when I was 17 and I've always dated men in their 50s.
Yes.
You know, even when I was 17. So if you're 50 and I'm 20 years old and going to college, and I'm giving you free shit, you better believe you're gonna pay for everything.
Absolutely.
Plus, I've always said, right? Plus, my philosophy is, bitch, if I ain't paying you if I'm not charging you for my time, least you can do is buy me dinner. Amen
to that.
It's cheap.
That's a pretty good deal.
Charging them by the hour,
right? I love that. Well, Bobby, going along the same lines, along with your really strong work ethic too, I know that you juggle a lot of things. Like, you're also an actor, I mentioned. You've written your own book 8 years ago. You are on YouTube as well, and you're doing sex work amongst all of this. It's all jumbled together. How do you find balance in all of this? And what would like a typical day look like for you? And how do you kind of like compartmentalize or like separate things out? Because as I was talking to like a lot of other sex workers in the community, a lot of the chatter was like, you need to separate things out. Absolutely need to separate things out. And that can like really different for a lot of folks. So I'd love to hear your take on this.
So like, it's interesting because I'm kind of a combination of like everything separate, but there's a lot of crossover in it as well. And I think because I do so many things, I think the busier I am, the more I excel. It's almost like if I'm not as busy, then not that I get bored, but then I might get bored with something. I think that if I only did sex work and if I was only relying on that, or if I was only an actor or only doing the social media, then I would get bored with it. You know, but I think having the balance of it all, and it's only been like in recent times where I have kind of let the two worlds publicly intertwine, because it was always where like my Bobby St. James and my Fiona St. James, which is my drag, like, even like when I had like LinkedIn, I had two separate accounts. When I had Twitter, I had two separate accounts. And I always,
Right.
because like the Fiona part of me was always where like I'm an actor who happens to do drag. And, I was on the HBO dramatic prison series Oz for all
Right.
6 years.
That's
So
amazing.
this was actually my mugshot on the show.
There we go. So
It
freaking
was also
cool.
the cover of my book, The Life and Crimes of Fiona St. James. And I called it that because technically everything I do is illegal.
It's also truth in this as well.
And the back header says she got away with it ... till now, because I spill it all. I leave nothing to the imagination.
Leaving the tea. Spilling the tea.
Exactly. So I think if you do more than one thing, then you don't get bored with it. And for me, it's like it seems like the more that I do, the better I get. The more I handle it, and then and then I tend to excel at all of it. The busier that I do, and there are certain times that things like take more precedence over the other. Like, apart from all of that, for 25 years, I worked at Bloomingdale's, like in management and cosmetics and fragrances. Between 1992 and 2017, on top of like the sex work, which was always there, and it went from like newspaper ads to like when I got the computer, and when America was on America Online, like before any of these sites even existed. Remember on AOL, you could have up to 5 like, profile names. So then I had one that said like cute, smooth massage, or like something with the massage, the word massage. Then I would go into like certain chat rooms and make money that way. Because then they would see, oh, massage, all right. So like, you adapt to the times.
Yeah.
But even back then, like when I was doing retail, like a typical day back then would be where I would work like 10 a.m. to like 8 p.m., then like go running home, shit, shower, shave, get completely dragged up, do a show at 10 o'clock, do a client at 12 noon, I'm sorry, 12 midnight, and then like, and sometimes in drag, sometimes because I would have clients that would want to see me in drag.
Of course.
I would just like schedule them when I knew I was doing a show, because I'm like, well, shit, I got the shit on.
Might as well. Working smart. Yes.
And and then but back then I could do that. I was a lot younger, so then I would go days, multiple days. I would work back to back and like get to bed at 3, 4 in the morning, then have to be up at 7 to repeat.
Yeah.
And when I was in the height of doing drag, I was like, it was like a lot, several days a week. But it was always for me about the performance aspect of it. Like it was never that, it's Saturday night, let me like dress up and go out. It was always about I'm performing on stage or a client was paying me for that.
Hustling and working.
Yeah. And like these days, like I stopped doing retail, but a typical day now, thank God I go to the gym like 5 days a week, and I work pretty steadily. Like, usually every day I'll get at least 1, if not 2 clients. And like, I ain't trying to be that greedy, honestly. Like, for me, the day that I was doing like 14, 15 a day.
I can't even imagine.
I ain't trying to do that,
Yeah.
It's different also because, you don't get them in half an hour. Like, I always had a massage table, and like for me, the therapeutic aspect of the erotic massage is what I actually love. And I think that's what keeps me going with it. Because I do these days much more massage work than I do escort work. Like the escorting work is there, but I have also learned in New York City, 95% of clients that hire escorts are bottoms that are looking for tops.
Oh,
and girl,
gotcha.
Yeah, again, look at me. I ain't no top. I have been, and I can be organically if it happens organically. But, sometimes with massage clients, they're like, oh, well, do you ever do anything more? And then I'm like, well, what are you looking for? Oh, blah, I want to get fucked. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm a bottom. And like, can't you tell?
Yeah, like, hello?
Kevin knows I'm about him, for God's sake. Look at me. So, and I would never ever accept a booking if someone wanted me to be the top, because I just wouldn't.
Yeah, it's just like not like it's not you. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
I feel like.
But I will say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say, what I did discover was, like, there are certain key places that I go to, like the two in particular are Fort Lauderdale and Palm Springs. Now that's the land of the hunky white top man.
But you know what? I love that you found what works for you, though. You found what works for you. You found where all like those gold clients are, and now you cater to that. Like, was it something that you gradually found as you're traveling around and touring, or is that something you'd heard in the grapevine, or how did that come to be that now you're like, okay, these are my two destinations where I need to be, and this is where I can really make some bank? Like, how did you just even discover that?
Well, it kind of happened accidentally, because, like, in terms of Florida, I had been going to South Beach for many years, and then I was making good money there. But then I found that it suddenly, like, wasn't as gay, and it was a lot more like Europeans that didn't even speak English. And then I heard of Rules and Manners, which is like the big gay section in Fort Lauderdale. So then I started going there, and I was like, oh my God! And I just made a lot of money, and that happened simply by default, because I kind of got sick of South Beach.
South Beach is a lot.
Yeah. So and I do really well. And I discovered this great clothing optional gay guest house that's like a block away from everything, and
Perfect.
I take the room in the front. He knows what I do. That bitch is even in my book. Once a year for a week, he gives me a good break on the price, and he totally knows what I do.
I love it.
Like, great. Yeah, and then Palm Springs, I actually, about 12 years ago, I moved out there. I moved out there with a friend of mine, because I thought I was like done with New York for a minute, and I kind of was. So I lasted out there about 2 years, but then in Palm Springs, because I was like working as a project manager, but in addition to that, I had my ads going, and I made so much fucking money, and I've not stopped going since. So I'm actually, pre-pandemic, I was at both places 2 or sometimes 3 times a year, but then like the pandemic hit, and then that kind of like fucked everything up. So I haven't been to either place. I mean, I'll be honest, it's taken me a little longer to get used to like life as we once do.
Totally. I hear you. It's been the struggle's been real.
I went to Spain about a year ago for last September for like 10 days, which was great. And then I was just with Marcella at Exotic in Chicago.
Yeah, that was so recent, a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh my God, and that was incredible. And those were the first 2 times that like I was actually like on vacation since the pandemic. So I'm excited that I'm going to Fort Lauderdale in June and September.
Yes.
And then Palm Springs for Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Amazing. And we will definitely plug the dates if anyone is interested at the end of the show, which we're almost there. Yes. But I do want to kind of briefly touched on it too. You were mentioning about adaptation over the years too, because you're going from newspapers to getting your pager to getting your computer. Now everything is digital and online now too. So there's just and there's YouTube, there's TikTok, there's all these things that are happening. There's content platforms just for fans, Fansly, OnlyFans, so many. There's so many things out there. So I'm just curious too, with a person that has been in the industry for 38 years, which I'm going to keep saying because that's just amazing to me. How do you keep finding yourself adapting? And have you ever had any challenges with that too? Or is that something like, okay, this is it. We're just going to keep rolling with the punches and here we go and just see how this fares out?
Well, you know what? I'd say a combination of the two. I mean, as a Pisces, I am adaptable, but I have to be honest, like OnlyFans, just for fans and all of that, for me, just happened when the pandemic hit, because I was always an in-person sex worker. And it's so, for me to actually like go in front of the camera and all of the sex that I've had, girl, I don't know, I never thought to film any of it. I
Right?
think I was like, I'm an idiot, because then suddenly when I needed content for these fucking platforms, I was like, I don't have shit. And then and at that point, because I didn't want to fuck anyone, because I didn't want to get COVID and die.
Yes.
That's what was happening.
Fair enough.
At the time that I did all of that, like, I have a nice 1-bedroom apartment, so I came up with like 10 different scenarios, because I thought some of them like many vids and all my vids and all of you needed like 10 videos to start. So I came up with like 10 little solo things that I came up with, 10 scenarios, just so that I could get on all these platforms, so that I could have something. So that for me was not hard, but it was tricky for me, because like I'd had my YouTube channel already for like 6 months. So I'm used to being in front of the camera, talking and telling a story, but that's a very different beast than like being in front of the camera and being sexual and, you know, and telling a story and eventually getting to the point where I would shoot my load and doing it like without someone there with me.
Right. That's different. That's very different.
Totally different world. But, you know, I did it and I kind of dove into it. And I have to admit, like, you know, the first 1 or 2, I was a little like
shy I'm
or,
sure.
Like, you know, you always feel like we could do better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, you know, I'm a quick study, even with myself. I was like, how hard could this shit be?
Well, you know what? I think that's really interesting what you said there too, because like, you know, when you're coming from a lot of in-person work, and I've done like a lot of in-person work myself too, and then when you jump onto these platforms and you don't have like a regular play partner or someone that you film with or a partner or whatnot, and like for myself, I do a lot of solo content nowadays, and I remember just trying to film in the beginning, and that was like awkward to kind of get into the mindset, and then me trying to edit and rewatch everything was uncomfortable for me in the beginning. Is that something that you struggled with as well? Like
Yeah, but you know what? Like I'm good at editing, because I like had been doing my YouTube channel.
Yes.
But it's very different when you're editing stuff like that versus then editing, you know, naughty content. But then I kind of edit too, because even as an actor, like I'm always so self-conscious when I see myself on television. Like, and if I get like an actual speaking part and it's going to air, I'm so funny where like when I know it's going to air, I need to be alone. I don't want anyone around me, because I become so, and half the time I'm like, is that what I sound like? You know, when you hear your voice, remember back then when we had answering machines, you're like, that's what I fucking sound like? It's incredible what you think you sound like, and then when you actually hear what you sound like, you're like, oh shit.
It's like, wait a minute.
So it was sort of like when I edit the naughty stuff, there was a little bit of that, but I quickly got over that. And, you know, and then like once things settled down, like it's only been recently that I've been filming content with other guys. And I actually have to admit that I fucking love it.
Yes.
You know, a couple of times we, like, you know, with booty calls, we're like, oh, let's film.
Yeah.
So I did have a little bit of that, but like the actual, like, okay, let's set up the lights, let's have the tripod, let's film. Like I only started just in the last like couple of years, just started doing that. And in particular in the last couple of months, there are these guys that are on Twitter that are up in the Bronx of all places, my old hometown.
Represent.
They have their apartment set up like a studio, and they have this playroom with a sling, a buck bench, rubber sheet on the bed. And like if anyone out there
is looking for a place,
Twitter, if you want to film with me, and you're in New York City, I'm a bottom, you're the top, and then like we do a group chat with them, and then you go to their place, you set the appointment. And then they do the filming, the editing, and then we all own the rights. So then they put it, because they have the Just for Fans as well. So then you put it on your platforms. So I recently started doing that, and I have to admit, I'm like, oh, I guess I am an exhibitionist.
Aren't we all?
So I fucking love it. Yeah, right. I mean, I kind of feel like we kind of have to be to do what we do, you know. And I think also you have to have a certain mindset, you know, that's the other thing that I think when the pandemic hit, I think there were certain people out there who were like, oh, I'm going to do like OnlyFans or just for fans to make money. I don't think this is the kind of work that you decide, oh, I think I'm going to do this. I think so many of us are just, it's natural that we do it.
Yes. Yeah.
I always say I'm a natural born hooker. I'm a natural born killer, but I've, you know, so, and I think if you're doing it for that reason, then you're being true and authentic to yourself. Yes. And then that's where your mental health is fine.
Yes, and that's another thing too. And like we have had episodes on this too, where we are talking about mental health, self-care, and just taking care of yourself on the inside, because that is so important. It's that stuff can really eat you up inside, and especially with this line of work, it can be very, very, very isolating. If this is something that if you're not an out sex worker and you're just keeping it inside and you have to like hide it, that can be really, really hard to deal with by yourself, right?
Yeah, because imagine like if you're keeping it in and if people don't know, then I would have to think that you probably have some, to a certain amount, some kind of shame or guilt, or maybe you don't want to be judged. I've never really given a fuck what people think about me.
Yeah.
So I'm open and honest about, oh, Pearl, I've always said, listen, when people ask me, well, why are you so honest about what you do? And I'm like, the more people that know I charge, the more money I can potentially make.
Aye.
So it's that. I'm like, I'm available for money. How much money you got? Call me.
There you go.
So I'm very...
I love that.
And that keeps it healthy because I don't have any shame about it.
Yes, definitely good for like yourself.
I mean, I think the world thinks that like there's so much taboo related to sex anyway.
Yeah, which I think is like a really old school thinking, you know, like, and that's why we're trying to have these conversations here and now, especially on the show, just because we want to be able to normalize it. We want to be able to humanize sex workers and just show it's just a job. Why can't I make money doing this? And you can go at your 9-to-5 job and make that money that way if you want to, but these are our choices. This is what we have chosen that we've wanted to do and wanted to pursue, and no one should be judged for what they choose for work. So...
No, absolutely. And you know what? I've always said we are all prostitutes in this game of life. Because you know what? You have to give a little to get a little. The person that's going to work 9 to 5 in an office, guess what, bitch? You're giving someone your time and they're giving you your cash. It's a form of prostitution. You ain't giving it away.
That is such an interesting concept. I love that's a very interesting metaphor. It makes sense.
You know, I've said that since I was like 10 years old. I've always said we are all just prostitutes in this game we call life. We're all pawns. No one is giving anything away for free.
I love that.
You get paid for your time. That's what a job is.
Yeah.
Plus, I've always said better a blow job than no job. So get to work, bitch.
I love that. I mean... Bobby, my God, you do a lot. You have done a lot. You do a lot currently, back then, now. Also, I just wanted to quickly kind of loop in too, because you were also talking about like, you know, you were taking in clients like lots of volume back in the day too. Now that you are a little bit older, just a little bit older, sprinkling a bit older, you're recognizing now like you're kind of slowing down that as well. Right. When did you start recognizing that like, hey, I don't know, or I don't need that many clients in a day? And two, when did that start to become like a priority for you that you can kind of shift things around at this point in your career?
Well, I think it's always been there where like if I get busier with other times, like when I was on Oz, I was like 5 days a week, 14-hour days. So even though it's difficult for me to say no to money, like, you know, and it could be in the morning, sure, come over. But just in the last couple of years, and honestly, since the pandemic, like when the pandemic hit, I froze my ads, and I didn't see anyone for like 7 months. Then I started, but then they were like second wave, and I was like, I froze them again. And then I waited till I was fully vaccinated. So now I've been back at it full time since, I guess, April of 2021. But what I don't know if like having that little break kind of made it where I love it still, and I will always love it, and I will always do it. So long as I look young and men want to pay me, I will always do this until I can't anymore. But I think because I have so many other things going on, nowadays, if I'm not in the fucking mood, I say no.
Good.
And it's
for
also
you.
like, I take care of my elderly parents, and they're like 92 and 85. And, you know, my dad's not doing, they just celebrated 64 years of marriage together.
Congratulations. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
Huge.
And and my dad's not doing great. So I'm like, I'm the caregiver. So every day of my life, I deal with like couple of hours on the phone, dealing like any and every phone call pertaining to them gets filtered through me. So it's a little bit of a mind fuck. So like there's a lot of times now where like if I am in the Bronx doing stuff for them, then I can't see clients, you know, whereas before I would like make it a point to like never say no. Like now there are times that I have to say no because I'm just not around to do it. And I have finally learned to like not feel guilty about that, because I would always like beat myself up, you know, because I'm like, don't ever say no, because don't look a gifted horse in the mouth, because you don't know when the next one is going to come. So and I don't know if that's, I think not even so much that priorities change a little, but when you do a lot, you can only do but so much, because you know, even with all like the social media platforms like TikTok, I just got into that, like really got into it thanks to Marcella about 2 months ago. So now, oh my God, every day I post the same video on TikTok I do as a Facebook reel, Instagram reel, YouTube shorts.
Same.
And so every day, and I don't miss a day of posting. So now I'm constantly filming little videos apart from like my regular YouTube videos that are every other Friday or every Friday, and those are like, you know, usually 8 to 10 minute videos. So there's a lot of times now that, you know, a couple of times a week I always have my soft lights up, and I'm always like, yesterday I got up and I filmed 8 of my own videos, because what I learned also with TikTok is, because I have my book and I have a lot of my little zingers, my one-liners. Now I'm doing my own material, and I'm having so much fun with it. It's kind of neat. I'm seeing like my numbers explode, and more subscribers and more followers, and so I feel a little tired these days, but for the first time, and I don't know how long, I'm like, it's a good kind of tired. I don't care if I'm tired because I'm doing a million things, so long as at least it's not because 6 months ago when I had a moment there where I wasn't doing as much, and I was bogged down with my parents, and I was like, I wasn't in such a great headspace, and then I was finding myself saying no to clients, because that's the work ethic part of me. Like, if I'm not in the fucking mood, and because I'm like going through whatever, then no, I can't see you, because it's not fair to you. And I would say to them, listen, I'm not feeling good. I'm a bitch right now. You don't want to see me.
Saving themselves the headache. And I'm really glad that you're able to recognize that and say no, because so many people, and everyone's situation is different. You know, sometimes we're actually not in the position to say no. There's a lot of survival sex workers that are out there too. But like in specific regards to your story, it's really nice to hear about the shifting of priorities that you've had, and allowing yourself to take a break when you can and when you will, and we're just like, I'm not really into it today. No, we'll say no today. And I think that's really, really important, and also a key factor in really taking care of yourself, and also taking care of yourself in the long run in this industry, because it can be quite physical, can really bog you down, both mentally and physically as well. So it's really great to hear that you're taking all these different measures and different approaches, which is why you've lasted in the game for so freaking long, and I'm sure you have many more years. down the line as well.
And now that I'm filming, and now that I got my OnlyFans and my Just for Fans, and even just doing like posting on social media the last couple of months has given me this rejuvenation where I'm like, oh, and like I've become very disciplined in the last 2 months where I go to the gym 5 days a week.
Yes,
I take this class called Sweat Shed Rip. So like the physical, the mental, and like today, because I knew we were doing this, I was like, I want to be feeling amazing for Steph. I don't want to see a fucking client today. So I was like, I'm not even going to show that. I didn't even log on to my sites because I'm like, y'all bitches don't need to bother me. And you know what I did today, which was quite wonderful? Marcella and I, we both belong to Crunch, and the Crunch on 54th Street, they have a ballet bar class.
Oh, fun!
I took a ballet class today. Girl, I've not taken ballet since college. Last ballet class I took, I was 36 years ago. and she was playing Tchaikovsky, for God's sakes.
Wow.
And we're doing all of these things. And there was one point, like 20 minutes into it, where I suddenly got very emotional. Because it brought me back to like, being in college and taking ballet. And I was like, so like to me, that did everything for my mental health today, did everything. And then knowing that we were going to be doing this, because I was like, I so love that you have this platform to show the diversity in what we do and not have everyone go to that stereotype.
Yes.
Everyone thinks that and look, stereotypes exist because there are people who fit that stereotype. Yeah. But no, not everyone who does this is forced into doing it, or because they're supporting a drug habit, or they automatically go to like the $5 crack whore in Hunts Point in the Bronx. Like they think of that. So for me, any and every chance I get that I can speak proudly about being a sex worker, I do it.
I love it.
And that's what got me my SAG card, because back in 1993, there's a documentary that was filmed by the BBC.
Okay.
Evan Kidron, who at the time had directed Used People. It's called Hookers, Hustlers, Pimps, and Their Johns. And she covered every aspect of the sex worker world. And I have this amazing 15 minutes. And I had just started doing retail, so she even filmed me like getting ready to like go to work, and then getting ready in drag, and I was dressed as Marilyn Monroe.
Oh my gosh.
Came to the show that I did.
That's so freaking cool.
And it got like major international critical acclaim, and every advertising had a picture of me dressed as Marilyn in a 7-year itch dress.
Oh my gosh.
No one games. I was like, oh my God. And true to her word, she said to me, if you do this documentary for me, I will give you a part in Steven Spielberg's To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, which I went to the audition process. I was one of the LA queens at the end of the movie. I was paid as a day player, so I immediately joined Screen Actors Guild, and that was 30 years ago.
Wow.
So I say Paying Tricks has their privileges, because had I not done what I did, I would not have done the documentary, and I would not have gotten that part, which then got me my SAG card, which then got me Oz on top of a zillion other things.
Amazing. That's so freaking cool. I mean, I just love hearing all the things that you do, and especially our conversation today. I love our conversation today on just like what has made you so successful in this industry. And I've also asked the Twitter community too, because there's a lot of you guys are on there, a lot of you listeners that are on there, to just kind of see what you guys do in terms of like what makes you successful in this industry, what makes you stay in the industry for this long as you have. So I'm just going to quickly read out some of those submissions, and thank you in advance for everyone that has done that. So here we go. Pause. That's all edited in. But yeah, those were all wonderful submissions. Thank you all for tuning in and just joining the discussion. I love these kind of episodes where I can really incorporate and interact and engage with you all as well, because you're all also part of the equation too. This episode is about Bobby, but of course this can resonate with so many of you. So it's really important that I bring you all into the show as well and incorporate you in the discussion here. But Bobby, it's back to you. we have talked for an amazing hour here. I can continue this conversation. Like next time I'm in New York, I have to definitely hang out with you because you're so much fun.
Oh my God, I would so love that. How often do you come to town?
I was just there in November, but I used to come a lot. I used to love that city. I mean, I still do, but I just need to make myself come out there again. It's too much fun.
Okay, but we definitely have to meet in person.
Yes.
I would love that.
Absolutely. And speaking of in person, but also not in person, but where can folks find you?
Okay, so let's start with if you want to see Bobby, I have my OnlyFans, which is Cute Smooth Bobby. My Just for Fans is Bobby St. James. My massage sites are on Rent Masseur and Masseur Finder, and then my escort ad is Rent Men. Rent Men, I'm Bobby St. James. Either Bobby St. James or Cute Smooth Bobby. I also own both of those domains. If you go to bobbystjames.com or smoothcutebobby.com, that directs you to my OnlyFans and Just for Fans.
Perfect.
And then my social media, which is all like Fiona driven. Wait, let's backtrack. So my Twitter is Bobby St. James with the number 1. So Bobby St. James 1. My social media, my YouTube channel is Fiona's Coffee Talks.
Oh, fun.
And then Fiona St. James, which is, Saint is not spelled out, so it's FIONAST, no period, and then James. That's my handle on TikTok, Instagram, and and on Facebook, it's Fiona St. James, actor/author.
Oh, gotcha.
What else am I leaving out?
I have so many links.
You know what? I have my phone open because I was like, I know I'm gonna forget half the shit. You have this many things. I'm like, what do I have again?
Oh my God.
Okay, so yes, I'm old. I have to wear glasses. Sorry.
I'm here for it.
Though, right? They make me look intellectual.
Very smart.
Yes, so OnlyFans, Sex Panther, I am Bobby St. James. So if you want to sex with me, go to Sex Panther on that. And then, yes, so rentmasseur.com, masseurfinder.com, rentmen.com. And then you got my Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Fiona St. James. And then my YouTube is Fiona's Coffee Talks. And I own that domain as well. So if you go to fionascoffeetalks.com, then you see that. I post daily.
Amazing.
So follow me, subscribe to all my stuff.
Yes.
And last but not least, if you go to allmylinks.com/cute smooth Bobby, that has everything. So everything that I just listed is all there.
And everything is going to be, and including Cash App, which will also include in the show notes below. So feel free to click on them links below.
And I completely forgot one of the most important things. So everything that Steph and I have spoken about today is in my memoirs. I am very proud of this. So this is The Life and Crimes of Fiona St. James. That's the website. But if you go to Fiona St. James, remember, don't spell out the Saint, no period after the T, so ST.com. That's where you can order the book. And for only $14.95, shipping and handling, I'm self-published, so I actually fill the orders from here and then I autograph it. And it is 400 pages with 20 pages of pictures, because as an actor, I've worked with a lot of people, and I have pictures to prove it. So when I talk shit, I'm gonna prove it.
Yeah, you walk the walk.
And it is very graphic and gritty. So you want to hear of the sex worker world for the last 38 years and all of the fun that I've had. I've never had anything bad happen, thank God.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, you know what? And I think that's more. I think that happens more if you are soliciting or street walking. I've always run it as a business. So the fact that it's either newspapers or the internet or agencies is much more of a screening process.
Yes.
You know,
a bit more of safety measures there. For sure.
I think it makes it a little safer. Plus, let me keep it real, honey. I got a bayonet, a hammer, and a baseball bat underneath my bed, which I'm not afraid to use. So don't fuck with me.
Definitely grew up in the Bronx.
Yeah, I got my bayonet up in my weave. I just came out the shop.
Bobby, it was much fun chatting with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. And again, everyone, check out the links. Go follow Bobby and all the social media platforms. And for everyone else listening at home, it is new episodes every single Sunday on all major podcast platforms. It's Stripped by Sia on Spotify. Rate 5 stars if you'd like. Also on Apple, feel free to rate 5 stars. Write a nice review for me. I read all of them. They're lovely. And that also really helps people find the podcast, people find the show, especially those who are really in search of resources. And this is all free. I've been doing this every week for the past almost 4 years. So it's important work. Please spread the word if this is a show that you find valuable and educational. And if you want to be on the show, feel free to check my website, strippedbysia.com. You can reach out there. There's a lovely form you can kind of fill out and pitch the shit out of yourself, because I don't take everyone on the show, believe it or not. I do not. So please pitch yourself to me. You can also pitch me directly on Twitter and Instagram. It's Stripped by Sia on those platforms if you want to contact me. And that's pretty much it for today. I will catch everyone in for another episode next Sunday, dropping at midnight. Thank you so much for joining me today, Bobby. It was so much fun chatting with you today.
Oh my God, I had a wonderful time. Thank you for having me. And guys, make sure not only you check out this episode, but check out all of her episodes. She's doing amazing work. So
hells yes.
You are wonderful, and you keep up what you're doing. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Likewise. Thank you, Bobby.
Thanks so much, man.
You're listening to Stripped by Sia, hosted, produced, and edited by Steph Sia. Music by Ted D. Graphic design by Maria Bellandirama, and photography by Ian Dabrin. Are you a sex worker looking to build a new website or a website redesign? Then you'll want to consider Fox Digital. They did a fantastic job designing my website, Stripped by Sia. If you want your website done, mention that you're a listener of the show at foxdigital.design for 20% off. Tell them I sent you.